Hi guys, I'd like to welcome you guys all back to my channel. I am recording behind the black sheet and some regular lighting because the sun and I don't get along. But today I am here with my August reads / booktubeathon reads and my September TBR. Before I begin this, I'm hot, so I'm gonna fill up my mug that I got in a brown sugar thing that I still use, and let's just start. So, as far as booktubeathon is concerned, as in the week of booktubeathon, I read 4 books. I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, American Street, Monday's Not Coming, and 3 Dark Crowns. Now, I'm going to just start talking about each one of them because, of course, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was audiobook. I've never listened to, I reread these books at least like once a year now, and I've never actually listened to them via audiobook. So that was interesting. It's like, I think because the movies have been out so long and I watch them so often that it's kind of weird to hear a guy try to do some of the voices. I don't know. It's weird, but I still like it. So, of course, it's Harry Potter, so I don't need to say much else. The next book that I read was American Street by A.B. Zoboy. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because I wanted to give it a 2.5, but you can't do that, so I was being nice and rounding up. This story is about a girl who moves from Haiti. Her mom ends up not being able to come with her, but she ends up going to live with her cousins, I think in Chicago. And this girl was so naive that I'm like, I don't know, like, it's like, okay, so she did grow up in Haiti, but you can't, like, y'all can't tell me this kind of stuff isn't going down in Haiti too. And she was so naive and so stupid. And of course, the love story part made no sense, but it did make sense because she's a high school girl. I didn't like it. Like, this was one of the books that was supposed to be a shorter read for me, but it took a while for me to get through to the point where I stopped reading it and just went straight to audiobook because it was boring. It was predictable. I felt like the stuff that she was going through was a typical teenager. Like, it is kind of a coming of age story, but coming of age from a young, naive Haitian immigrant is the best way to put it. I don't know the validity of the story. I don't know if this is like what happened to her. I'm not really sure, but I was just not a fan. The next book that I read is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson, and this book left me sad and depressed. Like, I don't know how. This book is about a girl who her best friend goes missing, and it seems like she's the only person who cares that her best friend went missing. Like, she's gone to her mother, she's gone to her sister. They don't care that their daughter / sister is missing. Her parents don't seem to care. The school doesn't seem to care. It's like nobody cares that this poor girl is missing. No one cares. And it's basically about this girl trying to figure out what happens to her friend. And the ending left me so, like, of course, you eventually find out what happens to her friend. Okay. But the ending, it was so many different topics talked about in the story. Gentrification, poverty, the possibility that she was a victim of being kidnapped and put into sex trafficking, mental illness, mental breakdowns, anxiety. It was so many different things attached to this little girl and her friend Monday that it was just like, when the ending happened, like, there were no happy parts of this book. It just went from bad to worse. And when it was finally revealed what happened to her friend, I actually just kind of stopped reading for a second. I think I stopped reading for like 2 days or something because it was just like, however, I did give it a 3 out of 5. I liked it, but it was like, it wasn't amazing, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read this book again. Like, it wasn't Dread Nation, Children of Blood and Bone level, but I did appreciate the story. So I do recommend this one. I don't really like American Street, but I did like Monday's Not Coming. The next book that I read was Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. I loved it. I have been on this fantasy kick, and my mood for fantasy, I really like high fantasy. I really like magic and especially anything with elemental magic. That might be my obsession with Airbender. I'm not really sure, but elemental magic is really my thing. So Three Dark Crowns, if you haven't heard yet, I'm sure BookTube talks about this all the time. I'm just late to the party. But basically, it is a matriarchal society on islands, and there are 3 islands that represent 3 different types of magic. So you have the elemental magic, which of course controls elements. You have poisoners, who are immune to all types of poisons, and they are the masters of poisoning other people. Like, they eat foods with poison in them. Like, that's their dinner. That's their dishes type situation. And then the other one is a naturalist, who of course controls nature, veggies, animals, and they have what is known as a familiar come with them. And basically there's a queen. She has triplets. She can tell you which power each triplet has. Then they are given to a midwife, and the queen goes and lives her long, healthy life somewhere secret. Once they turn 6, patrons from the islands come and take their prospective young princess to the islands. When they turn 16, they have to pretty much put on a show about their powers and show how how powerful they are, and then they have a year to kill their sister in order to become queen. That's all I'm going to tell you. It was great. Apparently there's 3 books because the 3rd book is coming out this fall, so I need to catch up in October. The next book that I read was Every Heart a Doorway by Senene McGuire. This one. Yeah. So I read this book. First of all, people talk about how much they love this book, and so many people who liked so many different genres of books really like it. Like, I didn't realize how dark this book is. I think even on my Goodreads, I wrote super dark. It was not what I was expecting, but for some reason in my head, I'd registered this book to kind of be along the lines of like the Miss Peregrine series, but basically is about children who went through the door and took to another world. And these other worlds could be whimsical, these other worlds could be dark, these other worlds could be light. It really depends on where you came from, but basically there is a school for these kids to try to either acclimate into being back in this side of the world, to deal with being back on this side of the world, or to go back. You know, if their door opened up again, then they would be able to go back. However, killings start happening at the school, and they're trying to figure out who is killing people, because it's not only are they killing people, but they're taking specific parts of these people, and it just gets dark from there. But for a book to be so tiny, I really liked it, and I have to finish the series now, basically. There's no reason for me not to finish. I have to finish now that I've started. I see why people love it. I'm usually not into dark type books, but surprisingly, I need to know what happens, because it leaves you on such a what that I have to know. So the next book that I read was Lagoon by Nene Okorafor. Now, I have a friend, and I love this friend so much. She and I swap back different book ideas all the time. Like, I've currently got her reading the Lunar Chronicles, and she's loving it. But she is the person who told me that I should read this book. And when I finished reading it, I sent her that Kevin Hart meme where he's on the mic and he's like, because that was really my response to this book. This book starts off with a marine biologist, a soldier, and a musician who get taken into the ocean. And then when they get brought back on the ocean, like, all Hades breaks loose in Lagos, because they also brought with them an extraterrestrial being, and it literally starts, like, once you go from there, it's already 3 different perspectives. Then they jump into perspectives of so many different people. Marine biologist's husband, their maid's boyfriend, the maid boyfriend's best friend, the priest, the minister, the army man, the president. It's so many different people in the story. I struggled to follow. I stayed confused. I still don't know what happens at the end. Just all around, what? WTF? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I don't know. Maybe venturing into sci-fi, maybe I might have my limits. Maybe this was just too sci-fi for me. I prefer her fantasy books. I prefer her Afro-futuristic sci-fi. I'm sorry, fantasy. Like, I want magic. I don't want aliens. I want magic. So, I mean, I read it. Will I keep this when I do my next book on haul? We shall see. Another book that I read this month, I know, I read a lot. I'm so proud of myself. I read The Darkest Minds because originally I was going to use that as the book to read and then go watch the movie. But then I completely forgot to go see the movie and I heard the movie flopped. So I'm kind of glad that I read the book first instead of watching the movie, because I feel like that would have deterred me from reading it. But I mean, everybody's heard of The Darkest Minds. It focuses on at a time where kids got powers, and their powers were categorized by color. And if you were a blue or a green, you were considered like not really harmful. If you were a yellow, you could control like electricity, so you were violent. Oranges could control people's minds. Reds could set people on fire. It was a lot of different things, but basically it focuses around a girl who is technically an orange, but they accidentally labeled her as green. So it's the beginning of her trying to really understand herself. She had been kept in captivity for 6 years, so she's trying to understand that. She ends up meeting a group of kids who also have powers, and the story takes off from there. I don't know if you guys have seen it or haven't, but I don't want to give too much. I actually do like the book. I do want to continue the book. I know that we're already at 4 books for this series, but if you guys couldn't tell, I don't read books all the time when they first come out. I wait a while. So those will be on my future TBRs. Now, the last book that I read for for August is Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. So basically, this book had been advertised or talked about a lot on BookTube, and it was supposed to be like a retelling of the story of essentially Ursula, but told in the Hans Christian Andersen version, not the Disney version. So I had that kind of thing in my mind, and I wouldn't say that it's a retelling, honestly. I mean, I am going to do a actual makeup review on this month, so keep a lookout. But basically, this tells the story of how she became the Sea Witch. So it's actually like a prequel to the Hans Christian Andersen story. And if you look at it like that, I think it was actually a decent retelling. Again, I don't want to give too much detail, so just look out for the review that is coming for this book. Thank you guys who have been staying with me, because we are officially on to the September TBR. And this month I will be doing a lot of traveling, so I'm not pressuring myself to read a lot. I was very successful in I didn't read 10 books, but I read a good amount of books last month. But I do kind of have some books that I am currently reading. So I'll just show you those, and then I'll show you my anticipation ones and the ones that I'm going to travel with. So continuing my reread, I am listening to the audiobook of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, it's just, y'all know how I feel about Harry Potter. The next book that I am actually reading right now, I'm on page 87, I think. It's These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rash, and it's, so far as I'm reading it, I'm trying to understand the world that it's in, because it's told from 3 different perspectives, but the world itself is focusing on what happened after a colony fought for their independence, basically. So it's starting from that point, and that's all I can say right now, because that's really all that I know. So while strolling in the library the other day, I was looking in the new book section, and this is a new fiction, adult fiction, and it's called What Should Be Wild by Julia Fine. And it is about a girl I read the flap. So it's about a girl named Macy who is cursed. Like, she's never been touched by a human, which I know, it immediately gave me a Shatter Me vibe by Tahira Mafi. And I was like, I don't know if I want that, because I have yet to finish that series. And maybe I'll talk about why I haven't finished that series. But yeah, but apparently she can't touch people because she has the power to kill or resurrect at the slightest touch, which is not Tahira Mafi, because old girl could kill, but she couldn't bring you back to life. So she lives with her father, who's an anthropologist, and her whole life she's been told not to go into the forest. Her mother, her aunts have all disappeared when they've gone into the forest. However, her father disappears into the forest, so she has to go after him. I don't know. I haven't read adult fiction in a while, and I feel like this sounds up my alley as far as like magic and all that other stuff. So this will be the next book that I read after these Rebel Waves. So the actual book that I'll be taking with me will be Sonali Dev's A Distant Heart. I talked about this so many times ago, but it's about a girl whose parents are overprotective. She befriends one of the people that works in her parents' house, and it strolls from there. Cool. So I do have some other books that are audiobooks that they'll be on my iPad in case I read this book faster than I intend to. And if I do read those, we'll talk about it. But I've already been talking for almost 20 minutes. So I'm just going to cut it here. And thank you guys so much for checking out my channel. To all the new people, hi! I cannot believe I am at 1,500 subscribers. So thank you guys so much. What books are you guys reading this month? Leave them down below in the comments section. And until the next time, guys, bye.